Hey YouTubers, today we're going to put a steering servo in our Arrma Notorious. These things are always destroying steering servos if you use factory servo. I tried to put a cheap one in it off eBay. It didn't work out. I've done some research. I found one that is supposed to actually be really good in these A-scale vehicles. They take a lot of beating at a skate park. If you bash them like I do, you're going to break parts regardless. But we're going to try a new one, show you how easy it is to install. Rip the body off of it. Of course your battery should already be out. Never leave your lipos in your vehicle unplugged up. Here's the culprit. Little old steering servo here. See what it takes to get him apart. Screw loose down here that's inside the servo horn. It's actually the arm that is turned by the servo that turns the steering. Alright guys, next thing you're going to do, you're going to go over here to your receiver. You need to take your 3 little screws out of the top of your receiver to open it up. Now guys, you see your receiver. In here and laying on the side. It's actually got a little bracket that it slides out of. It's pretty awesome. It's hard to catch on camera, my big hand in the way. Long story short, all you're going to do is unplug your steering servo and plug the new one in once you get it in. Pretty simple setup. Just make sure you wire it the same direction. And don't mind the broken shock post. I may or may not have jumped it a little too hard. That's okay though. You don't worry about that stuff. Okay guys, then you're going to remove your old servo. There's my old eBay servo. Supposed to have been 20 kgs, whatever it was, Metal Gear, blah blah blah. Like I said, it didn't make it through one skate park adventure. One. I even had the limit set, the whole 9 yards. But it had a whole lot more torque than a stock one did. So I have to say that even for $22, $25 on eBay, the stock one was better because it lasted a whole lot longer, a whole lot more abuse. Read some really good things. This right here is a fan model, 25 kg. It's waterproof. It has, it's hard to catch it with this glare, 24.0 kgs per centimeter, 333 ounces per inch of torque. At 6 volts, 0.08 per second, 60 degree, and at 7.4 volts, 0.07 seconds for 60 degrees. Operating voltage range, 4.8 volts to 7.4 volts. Ball bearing type, it has 2 ball bearings in it. Normal dimension servo, weight 65 grams. I believe I gave $32, $33 for this thing. It's very nice, high quality, really nice plastic package to keep it from getting damaged. It has its own aluminum arm, so I'll probably have to end up changing the servo horn to put that arm on it. I don't know, we'll see. I'd rather use a stock one just so the geometry will be perfect, but anyway, let's open him up. Expect this, but this thing has a ton of little arms, screws, bushings, things like that, in case you have a different use for it. Mine's pretty cut and dry. It's just going in an RC truck. There it is, guys. Fan model, 25 kg digital servo. Waterproof. These things are supposed to be really good about returning to home, which that other servo had a little trouble with centering back to 0. This should not have any hiccups from what I've read. But this hard plastic case is really nice. Nothing in the package seems to be damaged. I haven't got the arm out yet, but it's an aluminum arm. How much could be wrong with it? And it's actually got its own little screw that comes with it behind the aluminum arm. And its own Ziploc bag, along with another small screw to actually mount to the arm. When you put the small screw in, it goes right here. You put the arm on and then you tighten that down. It tightens down on the splines of your servo and keeps it from slipping. Pretty nifty little setup actually. But like I said, I'm going to retain the Arrma servo horn if I can. The wire color on this is completely different than your Arrma. Usually the yellow turns out to be the same as the white. So when you put it in, there's no actual tabs on the side of this plug to tell you which way you have to turn it. I would really recommend turning it on before you put it all back together and make sure you have it right, but typically yellow goes to white. You're just going to feed it right back in through the chassis like the old one was. It goes underneath the drive shaft, underneath the chassis brace, and right back into the waterproof box that the receiver is in. Okay guys, now we're going to put in our screws to mount our servo with. Now we've got our wires thrown over to the other side. That way your servo doesn't come flying back out when you're moving the truck around. And I do have the hot racing mount if any of y'all are wondering why mine looks different than yours. If yours is box stock brand new. No, I did not break the factory one. Everybody claimed that they were horrible and they let your servo walk around and cause steering issues. I basically bought it because I didn't want to have any trouble because I'm hitting ramps running 40, 50 miles an hour. I'd rather not destroy the truck just out of pure can't control it. If I do it out of ignorance, that's my own problem. Not that I would ever do that. Before you do anything else, actually tighten down your arm. As long as it was centered before you started, it will stay centered. If it wasn't, you're going to have to center this arm. To do that, pretty simple process of course, but you're going to turn your remote on first. Batteries are in, plugged up. RC is on. If you're plugged into the right port, then you're just going to turn your steering wheel back and forth to make sure that your servo's centered. You're going to put your horn on, tighten the screw up in it. Now your steering's centered. I think I have plenty of steering power now, boys. Look out. Bolts that hold the servo to the mount. Remember, if you're using a factory one, you're dealing with plastic, you can't tighten them down very good without worrying about stripping them out. If you're using an aluminum mount like I am hot racing, you cannot crank down on those like you would want to. Reason being, you're going to strip out the head of the screw, and little bitty Allen screws will only take so much torque. Even though they're great compared to a Phillips headed screw or something, you really do have to be respectful. Now you've slid your receiver down in there, back into the waterproof box. You need to get your wires run back in. In between the seals is going to be the interesting part. This little seal right here, very hard to work with. I do have to say I'm not really proud of how it's designed. Could be worse. Could be a whole lot worse. Basically, you're going to set this thing down. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open this thing up like so. And I'm going to slide the wires in it and then slide it down into the receiver box. That way we can keep some water out of this thing. I won't be able to catch it on camera, so I want to describe to you what I'm going to do. Screws in the servo are tight. You got to get all of these wires right up in here. All this mess crammed in this servo box. There's a little bracket on the back side of this receiver as we were talking. There's actually, down inside of here, you can't hardly see it, but right there is a guide. There's a guide on each side that bracket slides down into. So you need to slide your receiver back down into those guides. It will go in there just like so. Lined up in those guides, it just slides down in there. Alright guys, now that you put your wires in there, you want to put the excess wire down inside the box, but do not kink the wire up. You will tear up your servo, your receiver, whatever bind up or crimp up will tear up. This box has got 3 bolts spaced apart, so shouldn't be no way to mess it up. It's got a little rubber seal right here on the back side. You need to check this seal out, make sure it's complete, not destroyed, anything like that, because if you have one of these seals messed up, water's going to get in and eventually it's going to take its toll. Electronics and water don't mix. And you just install it. White strip, bone stock. That's your Arrma steering servo. One on the left here has the fan model 25. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys.